Explain, Michelle Suskauer joining us. The irony here, I know we've talked somewhat about the immigration issue,
yes,
is that we hear these stories about kids and parents and others, illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants, or refugees, however you want to phrase it, traveling now across the country with these permisos, these slips, these notices to appear. Meantime, we have a reporter from a accredited media outlet and a accredited municipality, Washington, D.C., with a valid ID cannot get through TSA because the officer has no idea what the District of Columbia is.
What do you say to this? That he does not know. You'd think that there would be. Well, what does it say about the educational system in our country that someone who's employed by TSA doesn't understand and recognize all the different forms of identification? I think that there needs. And look, I'm sure this is an anomaly. I hope that this is an anomaly.
But look,
and certainly there's a lot of forms of identification that folks are using, but driver's licenses are, I would say, the most common, other than passports.
Yeah, and this guy was asked for a passport. The TSA officer asked him for a passport as well. But the more you hear about what really goes on at the TSA, the more you are led to believe that it's really just an illusion. The security you feel going through airport security is really just an illusion. Of course, there was the underwear bomber who was able to thwart security checkpoints, and many other cases you've had reports of TSA agents accepting bribes to have things sneak through security.
Sure. And then you have, listen, I travel a great deal for work, and sometimes you get pre-checked, sometimes you don't get pre-checked. And they're trying this where they have, we're conducting some sort of an experiment where we're, randomly giving pre-checks to individuals where you don't have to take off your shoes, where you don't have to take certain things out of your bags, and that's random. So then it's like, well, okay, I know that I'm trustworthy, but how about the other folks that are randomly selected to not do the things that everyone else has to do? It is just an illusion, and that's actually pretty unnerving that actually occurred.
Highly unnerving, and as unnerving as it is, we'll leave that there for a time being. And one of the things we love about having you on this show is you're not afraid to express your political opinion. And one of the issues we wanted to get to on our last segment was this issue with GM.
Sure.
And so you think about what GM is facing now: fines, numerous recalls, many deaths attributed to a failure to report this thing with the ignition. Now, some things I've heard from some liberal circles is that if GM was treated like a person, we talk about corporations being treated like people, they would be going to jail, perhaps facing the death penalty.
And that's and interestingly, the rights of a corporation being treated as a person. We just saw a recent, the Hobby Lobby case in terms of what a corporation and the rights that a corporation has under the First Amendment. So this is very interesting. And GM, for the first time, it's really come out. And there's going to be a Senate hearing, I believe, tomorrow on this, where GM's general counsel as well as the CEO are going to have to appear again about intentional misrepresentations and omissions to traffic safety regulators and what they didn't tell about the faulty ignition switch, which we believe may have led to, and a causal connection to, I believe, 13 deaths over the last decade. So it's out there. But would they potentially be facing the death penalty if they were an individual? I don't know.
Well, of course we don't know. We asked a hypothetical question because
right.
that point has been raised here.
That's right. But in terms of liberal circles or conservative circles, I mean, come on. This is a major international corporation that has some significant issues, have lost a tremendous amount in terms of PR, and are facing major problems because if they actually did intentionally misrepresent, which looks like they have, and omitted, then they should.
Yeah. Well, the ultimate test will be what stockholders, shareholders, and consumers do. And right now, sales of GM vehicles aren't really hurting that much, despite this bad press, and the stock price seems to be doing okay. So, I think a lot of folks would say it's time for consumers to weigh in on the issue of GM if these
and to really in the bigger picture, in terms of transparency, in terms of what they do and how they do it, so that we're all protected, because that's really the most important thing.
Transparency and more of it, something I think all of us can agree on, no matter our political persuasion. Michelle Suskauer,
Sure.
great to have you here.
Sure, my pleasure.
And coming up, your chance to weigh in on the top topics of the day. You can reach out to on social media. We're back with more in America's Forum in a few minutes.